Hello, YouTube. It's me, John Avenger, once again, and boy, do I have a lot to say right now. I just finished The Mandalorian Season 2 on Disney Plus. After you see this, last episode, I'm not going to say a thing because I don't want to spoil it for my friends on Facebook and YouTube here, or any of my subscribers. But after you see that, after you finish this season, you're going to wish these movies never happened, because this is what I wanted from Star Wars ever since Episode 3. These movies are an abomination. This made Luke freaking pointless, and this made Luke freaking pointless, and they did nothing with Leia, and Han isn't even mentioned again. These movies are freaking garbage. I've said it since the first time I saw this movie back in the theater. This was not the epic, seventh movie that we were looking for. You know why I say that? Because guess what, guys? This show is better in every freaking way. So kiss my ass. Kiss my ass. Rogue One, you can kiss my ass. Solo, you can kiss my ass. And Rise of Skywalker. This is the real Rise of Skywalker. When you see this episode, the rescue, you are going to be freaking blown. Your mind is going to be blown. Every episode of this series has been freaking phenomenal. Even the lesser episodes that we had in the first season, like the one with the ATST with the red lights. This is the fan service I've been waiting for since 2005, guys. 15 years I had to wait for this, for these abominations to come out, and they did nothing for me. These movies were overlong and boring and rehashing stuff from the original and then putting memory berries in your face. This is how you do it, guys. I saw every episode of Mandalorian this year, starting from back in the winter, in the beginning of this year when I saw the first season. This is how you do it. I've been saying this on Facebook for 5 freaking years. Since I was starting in the Nerd Pack in 2016. This is how you do it. Take the characters from the established properties, the prequels, the originals, the freaking the planets that we were in, and actually give them something to do. Boba Fett, they redeemed in the show. Ahsoka, we haven't seen her since the Rebels cartoon, that was the last cartoon we saw her in after the Clone Wars cartoon. Again, they gave her something to do, and yes, she was in it, so that's not a spoiler. If you've seen Mandalorian since Season 1 and Season 2, they mentioned her in the first season. Yeah, and also, there's a character in this series, that at the end of the season, that got completely redeemed in one freaking scene. There is one scene in this episode that will make you hate every single movie that has come out since The Force Awakens. I guarantee freaking to you. What did Luke do in The Force Awakens? He's a cameo and he doesn't say anything. What does he do in The Last Jedi? He's a crotchety old man that hits Rey with a stick and then dies at the end like a bitch. Then what did they do in Rise of Skywalker? He's a Force ghost, grabs a lightsaber, and is like, no, this is a weapon of a Jedi. You're not going to throw it away. We're gonna give the finger to Last Jedi. But again, the movie is still in the same continuity. This... oh, you are going to be you're going to be stunned. I'm not going to say anything, guys. That's just a clue right there. If you hated those movies, if you hated what they did with them, the mindless action in those movies can kiss my ass. This is how you do action right. You know who directed the final episode of Season 2? Peyton Reed, a guy that gave Ant-Man a freaking set of balls. He took a D-list Marvel character and he made him into a funny, charismatic, awesome, kick-ass character. And he also made Wasp a better freaking character than Rey. Yeah. Because she can kiss my ass. That's how you do a strong female the wrong way. No backstory, no training, no explanations. Making her she's the Empress. She's the freaking granddaughter of freaking the Emperor from Palpatine. Palpatine died in Return of the Jedi. And it should stay that way. This show retcons pretty much everything that I hated in those movies. Every single one of it. The bullshit fan service and Rogue One being boring. This is Rogue One, but actually with characters I care about. Mando and the freaking child and Gina Carano's character. I'm sorry Gina Carano wasn't your freaking SJW with superpowers. We don't need that, guys. We don't. If you see my rants on my old channel back in from 2015 to like last year or whatever on my old channel, I already gave it to them. I said it. These movies were never about propaganda and agendas. They were about escapism and going into different worlds and using the Force in a good way. Hell, There's no force using in this last episode until the very end, because Baby Yoda is, yes, he's in the episode. You know that, guys. They're going to rescue him. That's basically the plot. But he doesn't use the force in this episode. Someone else does. And again, it upsets me because I'm like, why didn't we get this freaking show in 2015? If this had come out after Force Awakens, I would have been like, okay, that movie sucked, but I got this show. No, I had to wait 5 freaking years to get this. 5 freaking years. And also, by the way, on a lighter note, rest in peace, Jeremy Bulloch. You'll never be forgotten. I miss you. I met him at a convention, guys, and he meant a lot to me. May he rest in peace. Boba Fett was done justice. Your memory will live on, Jeremy Bulloch. We miss you. We love you guys. We all love you. The fans, you gave us so much in those 2 films that you were in Empire and Jedi. That's still the 2 superior sequels over that bullshit rehash trilogy. Yeah, because they actually continued the story. They didn't go in circles and then do a fetch quest in their last part. This episode was not a freaking fetch quest. The whole series, 16 episodes in, they've streamed on Disney Plus, and in the entire year that I've been watching them, they kicked more ass in 16 episodes than the last 5 movies. Yeah. The last 5 movies were a freaking joke. They put unnecessary humor in Last Jedi and SJW agendas, and then Rise of Skywalker is trying to be like Endgame, trying to wrap up all the loose ends. You can't do that in 2 hours and 20 minutes. When you're throwing new characters that we don't give a shit about. No one cared about Zordy Bliss. Nobody cared about freaking the black female version of Finn. Nobody cared about Nas Kanata. I'm sorry, she's not Yoda, guys. She's just a diet version of Yoda. Nobody cared about Richard E. Grant's character or the guy from the Lord of the Rings film saying, "Oh, the Emperor was cloned." Yeah, they weren't telling a story. They were trying to preach and ram it down your throats. This show did everything better. Mando is a better character than Finn. He's a better character than your hobo. He's a better character than Poe. They don't freaking demonetize him, guys. They don't weaken him. He has a fight with a lot of characters in the show, from the first season all the way to this season, and it's freaking worth it. We follow his journey from when he was, a Mandalorian alone. Then they give him the child, and the child and him go on adventures, and it's worth it. Every single episode is worth it. Even the filler stuff. It's not like Rogue One where the whole freaking movie's pointless. You know what happens in Rogue One? If you haven't seen it, everybody dies. That doesn't happen in Mandalorian. There were some casualties in the past 2 seasons, but I'm not going to say anything if you haven't seen it. But it's earned. It's not, let's kill off a beloved character for no freaking reason except to subvert your expectations. This subverted my expectations. This final episode was the best thing I haven't seen something this epic in scale since Avengers Endgame. Yeah, that freaking movie behind me, there's a reason that movie is the biggest movie of all time. It tied up all the loose ends, it gave the Avengers their last hurrah, and even when characters died, you felt something. And it meant something. The final battle blew my freaking mind. This last episode, yeah, it's going to blow your freaking minds, guys. I wasn't even planning on doing a video like this, but I'm like, I'm so pumped and I'm so energized from that episode. I'm like, I wish that there was like 10 more episodes after this, but nothing's going to top this, guys. When Mando comes back next year, I doubt season 3 will be better than this, because this episode was just freaking fantastic. Everything worked. This is a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. There is nothing that's going to top this. This should have been the movie we got after Return of the Jedi. Yeah. An actual story that we want to see happen. And its continuity. And also, it has a beloved character returning from the ashes after J.J. Abrams took a piss on him, Rian Johnson shit on him, and then freaking J.J. came back and made him pointless. He made him a Force ghost. Kiss my ass, freaking J.J. Abrams, for that. And even you too, Rian Johnson. I know it's your birthday, happy birthday, but you ruined Luke in that movie, guys. He ruined him. But in this show, trust me, you're going to want to see this whole series so far. They redeemed a lot of characters that were either underused or mistreated in the rehash trilogy or in Rogue One or Solo. God, I wish they could bring Han back. Bring Alden Ehrenreich back. He wasn't the problem with Solo. There were a lot of problems with that movie. It was too dark. It was boring. It was too long. The characters, the side characters, are nothing. You think Kira's better than freaking Kara, or whatchamacallit, Ming Na's character, or Sasha Banks and freaking what was her name, Bo-Katan? Again, those are better freaking female characters. They're not super powered. They're not demoting the men to like, oh, you're just going to be a bunch of cameos. No, the Mandalorian is his show. The rest of the characters can stand on their own 2 feet and not have to shit on someone else or stand on someone else's head to do it. This show was everything I wanted for Star Wars to come back. There are going to be other shows, they'll be good, but they won't top this. There's no way they're going to top this. This one scene in this episode is going to blow your freaking minds. You're going to be like, I liked Force Awakens and I liked Last Jedi, and I suffered through Rise of Skywalker just to let them do it better in a freaking TV show, a web series that you don't even have to pay to see unless you have the streaming service. Again, you don't have to see this in the theater. Yeah, this should have been in theaters. If I had seen this with a major crowd, everybody would have jizzed their pants. Because this is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is the way. This is how you should do Star Wars. No more pandering. Get Kathleen Kennedy out and do it right. Filoni and freaking Favreau deserve a freaking round of applause. They brought Star Wars back from the dead. Maybe the movies won't be as good as the original because nothing will be the originals, guys. These are going to live forever. The prequels had problems, but they were good. They at least told a new story. They didn't just rehash stuff we've seen before. The Clone Wars, Rebels, the freaking Freemakers cartoon. They put Star Wars in a good place. JJ and the rest of them, those can suck it. Because they don't know it. They didn't know how to tell a story. Instead, they wanted to preach a propaganda about the Force is female. Well, not in this show, it wasn't. The only female with Force powers in this show was Ahsoka. Hintity hint hint. And the acting's better. Pedro Pascal is better than Boyenga's ever been. Because he's not yelling. He's not shaking. He's not freaking going, Ray! Yeah, again, she doesn't give a shit about you. So why are you yelling at her? For her. And Oscar Isaac, I don't hate him, but they demote him. In the first movie, he's barely in it. The second movie, they demote him to a freaking like, oh, you're nothing. We're gonna have a plan without you. And then the third movie, he doesn't know why he's there. He's there because he was in the first 2 films. And the problem with those 3 characters, Poe, Finn, and the hobo, fuck you, by the way, Daisy Ridley, you're never gonna be as good as Carrie Fisher. You'll never be her. Those 3 are not a family. The cast in the original, they're a family. The cast in the prequels, love it or hate it, they're a family. In Mandalorian, everybody feels like they're like a family. The Child and Mando and freaking Cara and even Carl Weathers, and he was barely in the season. They feel more organic, and they're not being robotic and stoic like in these recent films. They feel like a family. Take a note from Shazam. That movie did freaking the family right. And it didn't hold back. It was a fun superhero movie, and it also had a lot of heart. These films had never had heart. Without George Lucas there's no heart. It's just a bunch of manufactured Disney bullshit. But this show freaking nailed it. This is why I love the show so much, guys. It wasn't perfect at first, but this episode is completely flawless. When you see that scene in the third act, you're gonna freaking lose your minds. You're gonna go on Twitter and say, hashtag the Force is back. That's what you're gonna say. Trend that on Twitter right now, because when you see this episode, your mind, you'll never be the same. If I had if it wasn't snowing outside, if there wasn't snow outside, I would get a barrel, take those abominations and burn them in front of the camera, because that's what they deserve. Fuck those movies. Every single one of those movies. Episode 7, 8, 9, and those freaking 2 spin-offs. They weren't telling stories. They were going in circles. The first one is a remake. The second one is a remake backwards and going in circles. There's no plot. It's just things happening out of nowhere. And then the third movie is a fetch quest. Where's the continuity? I don't know. But this show kicks the shit out of all of those movies. And you know how I felt about these movies over the years, guys. I'm so glad this is the first December in my entire life that I'm not sitting through a shitty Star Wars movie in the theater or a god-awful trailer. Chaos Walking is not going to save the hobo's career, guys. I'm sorry. That movie got pushed again. It's doomed. It's going to suffer the same fate as Dark Phoenix and New Mutants and any other movie that got pushed that was not worth your time. This show is worth your freaking time. Go see it. If you have Disney Plus, see it. If you have to see a BitTorrent of it somewhere, see it. Trust me, this episode is gonna be highly recommended for Star Wars fans because it's the best fan service in 15 freaking years. I wanted to just stand on my feet. My heart was vibrating when I saw this episode and the rest of the series because the fan service is earned. It's not shoved down your face. Yes. There are so many references and Easter eggs. I was like, I had a smile on my face the entire time once the episode started. I'm like, this is going to be phenomenal. And it was. And everything that those three pieces of crap did wrong, and Rogue One and Solo, this did it better in freaking 16 episodes. You count the running time of each episode as like 30 or 40 minutes. And 20-some minutes for one episode in the middle of season 2. But all of that combined is more worth your time than any of those freaking movies. Because it didn't take a shit on the franchise. Everything in this show works better. Is it perfect? No. There's some characters that are kind of there to fill time. Amy Sedaris in the first season and even the second season, she's just there for comic relief. And there's some other characters there that are just there to fill time. But this show freaking works. Every episode I saw this year, from the pilot to the first episode, we see what Baby Yoda can do. The first time we meet Gina Carano's character. The first time we see freaking Bill Burr's character. Or when we see Quill for the first time. I have spoken. Exactly. I have spoken, guys. Fuck those movies. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. A year ago, we got Rise, and it was the worst thing that could have happened. It could, because Rogue One, I was done after that. I said, I'm never watching these movies in the theater again, and I kept my word. I did not see The Last Jedi in the theater. I saw the trailer, I walked out. Solo, it came out, it flopped, it deserved to. It was boring. Rise came out about a year ago in December. I was sick, so I stood home and I watched something better. And when it came out on Disney Plus, I didn't even bother. Why? Because my standards are too freaking high. I need some water. Hold on. Yeah, I get so angry because I'm like, this is what we should have gotten 5 years ago. Not emo bitch Kylo Ren going, yeah, or the hobo hitting people with sticks. The hobo was never likable, guys. What's likable about her? How is she hot? How? She wears sandy colors, and she doesn't wear any dresses or anything sexy, and she's never feminine. She's always, I'm tough, and I'm going to be concentrated like this. Yeah, that's her the whole freaking movie. And then you have Beaver Teeth in Rogue One. And then she dies. So where's your connection? There is none. And then with Kira, and she was a nothing character in Solo. Not the worst, but not good. The SJW robot. Here you have robots that actually kick ass. Remember IG-11 in the first season? If you've seen the first season, he does more in one freaking episode than any of the droids did in the prequels. That were not used much. Or even in the freaking rehash trilogy. Yeah. Mando, I know he's the main character. I've been talking about him a lot. He does more in 16 episodes just by talking and doing things with his hands and shooting than anything that Phasma did in The Force Awakens or in Rogue One. She was just there to sell toys and didn't do anything. Grogu, a.k.a. Baby Yoda, does more than the Porgs did in The Last Jedi. Yeah. The references to the originals and the prequels, they don't act like the prequels never happened. They actually acknowledge the prequels. Where are the prequel things in the freaking rehash trilogy? Tell me. Well, what is in those freaking movies that was not mentioned, that was mentioned? They never mentioned Ahsoka. They never mentioned Obi-Wan Kenobi. They only put them at the end of Rise in like voices. You don't even see them. It's voices on people from the prequels because, yeah, you get it? It's fan service. Fuck you, J.J. Abrams. You're never going to touch that again. I'm so glad that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni decided to get real talent to direct these freaking episodes. Bryce Dallas Howard and freaking Taika Waititi and freaking Peyton Reed. Even Robert Rodriguez did a good job on this. A guy who hasn't made a good movie in years, and yet he does one episode, and I'm like, wow, that's better than half of his filmography since Sin City. Yeah. I'm just going crazy, guys. This was freaking phenomenal. This is what Star Wars it means to me. This was my favorite franchise of all time for a reason. Now it's the MCU because we're getting WandaVision in a few weeks going into 2021. Fuck 2020 because you made me suffer for 9.5 months where there was barely anything to see on TV. The theaters were closed. The library was closed. A lot of places were closed. But I got this. So fuck you, COVID. You didn't take me down. I got to see this. I lived through to see all 16 episodes, and I am satisfied. And we're almost done with 2020, so I'm going to keep doing videos for you guys because you're worth it. This franchise will live forever. The prequels will live forever. The originals will live forever. This show is going to live in the memories of everybody who's seen it. When this year's over, I want to get either a giant poster of Mando, put it on my wall, and you're all going to see it. Because I praise the hell out of that show for a reason. It didn't let me down. I was like, okay, this show's good. Then I see this and I'm like, yeah, this was freaking phenomenal. I wish that this happened a lot sooner. Because I'm like, yeah, you brought back the Clone Wars only because, there was no cartoons on Disney Plus that were not Mickey Mouse related. So they're like, oh, let's bring it back and finish it this time. That's what you do for the fans. You give them what they want. Don't give them this half-baked bullshit that you call nostalgia. That's nostalgia porn. I want the real thing. And boy, did Mandalorian nail that. Man, I don't even know what else to say, but good God, this episode and the rest of the series, it blew my freaking mind. I can't believe how long it took to freaking get Star Wars back on track. It's not perfect. This episode was, though. There is no episode that's going to top this for the rest of this decade. Game of Thrones, you should have taken notes from this. This is how you end a season or a series on a high note. Yeah. Man, I'm floored by how freaking awesome this was. This is like the biggest nerdgasm I've had since Avengers Endgame. Seriously, guys. I could not believe it. I was like, this is what The Force Awakens should have been. This is what The Last Jedi should have been. This is what Rise of Skywalker should have been. A real rise, not this, oh, what's your name? Rey Skywalker. Fuck you. You're not related to Luke or Leia or Han or freaking Anakin Skywalker. You're just a Skywalker in name only. You're not the real thing. After you see this, you're going to see the real rise. Not Hobo and her funky bunch in space. This movie did it better. Captain Marvel. That got shit on by people, but saying that, Brie Larson and freaking Carol Danvers is a freaking Mary Sue with no explanation. She's OP in the comics, guys. That's all the backstory you need. It's in the comics, the cartoons, and the video games, and etc. The Hobo, there's nothing about her. She's just, I'm super vagina Jesus. That's what she is. And I hate to say this a week before Christmas, but like I said, she's got no flaws. She's a perfect freaking Disney princess. That's not what I wanted in Star Wars. Luke, Anakin, and freaking and Mando, they're not freaking perfect characters. They made mistakes. They complained a little bit here and there. Mando not so much, but Luke and Anakin did. But they had vulnerability, and they were relatable. They were human. They weren't super-powered freaking SJW poster children, were they? No. You're not a real Skywalker. This show has the real deal. Yeah. And after you see it, yeah, you're going to forget these movies ever happened. I already forgot. Phew, I already forgot that these movies happened. Now, hopefully, this will be the last time I ever rant about those movies, because I'm like, yeah, fuck those movies. This is how you do it. Take something that I love and make it better. Don't make it worse. Don't kick it while it's down. That's what Rise did. It kicked people while they were down. That's why it didn't make $2 billion like this movie did, or that movie, or this movie also made $1 billion. It made way more than Rise, and so did the original Avengers, because it gave people what we wanted. It gave the fans of these characters a ray of hope, if you will. And a week before Christmas, yeah. Merry Christmas to me. This was a freaking phenomenal season. Great freaking series. The best show I've seen in 2020. Sorry, Stargirl. You better luck next time. This is kick-ass. This is how you do it. And there wasn't one gay thing in it, which is phenomenal. I'm like, thank God, because they had to put that in Rise out of nowhere. A random lesbian couple kissing because reasons, because progression. No, this is the way. This is how you do it. I can't wait to see season 3 next year. And I can't wait to see these movies get burned. When people see this episode, they're going to take their DVDs and Blu-rays of The Force Awakens and Rise and Last Jedi, and they're going to destroy them. Not Josh, because he's like, no, I'm going to keep them. I don't destroy things. But this is how you do it. I kept saying that because it's the truth. People don't want to hear the truth. They want to be like, no, those movies they're flawed, but they're still good. What's good about them? That they shit on the original characters? When Mando doesn't do that? It takes continuity. It literally takes place right after Return of the Jedi. It wasn't 30 years later where everybody's old and broken down. This is the real freaking shebang. And if I never see another movie in the theater when it comes to Star Wars, I'm like, hey, this episode alone and the whole series so far is all the Star Wars I'll ever need for the rest of my life, guys. I'll still see Ahsoka show and Obi-Wan's limited series. I'm not going to see Cassian Andor because I didn't like him. But this is how you do it, man. It pisses me off that we get these shitty this trilogy that didn't even stay focused. They had the foundation of The Force Awakens, but they fucked it up in the sequels. And I always hated your hobo. I'm sorry. A freaking girl with a stick with no essence of any femininity was never going to be for me. And with a British accent that kills me every time I hear it. And with a face that's not marketable, just sucks me dry. This brought me back. Deadpool may have restored my manhood, but this show is what I wanted from Star Wars since 2005. And it's deserving of all the accolades and praise that it got this year and at the end of last year. So I bid you adieu for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Rest in peace, Jeremy Bulloch. We'll miss you. This is how you do it, man. Take notes, Hollywood. This is why people stood home this year and watched shows like this over your bullshit in the theater, like New Mutants and Birds of Prey and freaking other movies that didn't do well. Tenet, I'm gonna give it a shot next year, so I'm not gonna shit on that. But this is how the Force should have been from the start. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Take care. I love this series, man. This is how you do it, man. I feel like crying because I'm like, damn, this after a year of bullshit, this is what I needed to boost me up. Because I had a horrible year. Not just because of COVID, but because of the isolation and the complaining online and the lack of things to do. But I got through it, man. I got through it. Anyway, see you in the next one, guys. This is how you do it. This is the way. I have spoken.